Hello dear students, welcome to the fourth and the final part of our Tiger Reserve series, where we are now going to discuss the states which have either 2 tiger reserves or 1 tiger reserve, and that's it. Okay. First in the list, we have to discuss about the tiger reserves in Kerala, and in Kerala you have 2 major tiger reserves called as Parambikulam Tiger Reserve and Periyar. But the one that is important for us is your Periyar Tiger Reserve. And trust me, this has so much of importance. So let me just walk you through it. First of all, Periyar Tiger Reserve is located on a very high altitude in the Cardamom Hills and the Pandalam Hills of your southwestern Ghats. So it's majorly in your western Ghat area, and that is the geographical importance of it. Now, very recently, Periyar Tiger Reserve was in news because Periyar Tiger Reserve got an MEE score of 94.3, thereby making it India's best managed tiger reserve. Okay, so what is this MEE score? MEE stands for Management Effectiveness Evaluation. Management Effectiveness Evaluation. It's not the first time this is done. This was actually the 5th cycle of your Management Effectiveness Evaluation. It's an international standard that tries to rate, and it has UNEP, you have WWF, they have all contributed to this, that tries to understand which tiger reserve is managing the area and the tiger population in a good manner. Out of all the tiger reserves in India, we have Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala that has got the Best Managed Tiger Reserve Award with a score of 94.3, thus making it important for us. Further on, let's move on to Odisha, and in Odisha, we have 2 major tiger reserves, your Satkosia Tiger Reserve and the Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Now, which are the ones that are important in this? The one that is important is your Simlipal Tiger Reserve, and primarily for what reason? Simlipal is known to have a very high number of your black tigers. Again, just like I told you about the white tiger, the black tiger is also a genetic mutation. You can see this one over here. It's a genetic mutation that makes the tiger have more of black stripes than your yellow stripes. So, Simlipal has recorded a large number of these black tigers. Now, what Simlipal has done is, they have created the world's first melanistic or world's first black tiger safari. So now, Simlipal is at global recognition because it has created the world's first black tiger safari. Further on, Simlipal's name is also quite unique. Simlipal's name comes from a specific kind of tree that grows over there called as your simul tree. The simul is basically a red silk cotton tree. Okay, so again, that is a geographical fact. Simlipal was also in news because of the presence of certain communities called as your Erenge Kharyas and Mankirdyas. Erenge Kharyas and Mankirdyas. So these communities are right now, you can say it is in Odisha and it is in your Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Further on, moving on to Telangana, you have 2 major tiger reserves, which is your Amrabad Tiger Reserve and the Kaval Tiger Reserve. Good for us, none of these have featured so recurrently in news that it is, it has a need for in-depth discussion. Just understand or just be familiar with Amrabad and Kaval. Further on, let's go to West Bengal, and now I know what you guys are thinking. We have in West Bengal 2 major tiger reserves, the Buxa Tiger Reserve and the Sunderbans. Now, you know which we are going to discuss in detail. It is your Sunderbans. Okay, just look at the magnificent tigers that you have over here. The Sunderbans is actually the world's largest mangrove delta region. And right now what is happening is, because of climate change and the sea level rise that is happening over here, Sunderbans is now very recurrently getting flooded. Okay. And this has been a reason for the death of certain tiger species over there. So that is why, one of the reasons why it was there in news. Another important reason is when in Sunderbans, India and Bangladesh, I hope you know certain areas of Sunderbans are there, you know, the sharing part in Bangladesh also. So what happens is, in the Sundarban area, India and Bangladesh will manage the areas that are there in their part, in their boundaries. They've launched a program called as your Bhaga Bond. The Bhaga Bond is primarily a community tiger conservation project. Okay. So these are some of the good facts related to the conservation. Now, what I want to, drive your attention to is, Sunderbans was also in news because of a very sad, unfortunate fact. Sunderbans is home to a group of people that is called as tiger widows. Now, understand, tiger widows are the spouses, are the wives of the people who were killed. You have the man and animal conflict between the tiger and humans, and the tigers of Sunderbans or the man-eating tigers of Sunderbans had killed their husbands. And it's so rampant that in this area, this group of widows that, whose husbands have been lost in this man-animal conflict are generally very shunned from the society. They do not have much help. They do not have a proper livelihood, etc. And very recently, their plight was reported in certain news articles. So I felt you had to know this. So it's not like any other man-animal conflict. The man-animal conflict over here has been so high that you have a group of people by the name of tiger widows who have lost their, significant others. They've lost their fathers and they've lost their husbands, etc. Okay, so keep this in mind. This is also a phenomenon that you are seeing in Sunderbans. Now, finally, we are moving on to those states which have a single tiger reserve. And in that, first you have Bihar. In Bihar, you have the Valmiki Tiger Reserve. The Valmiki Tiger Reserve is actually the easternmost extinct of the Himalayan terai forest. When you studied geography, you would have studied, you have in Himalaya several areas called as the terai region. In this terai region, which is the land and the, the very fertile area which is there, the easternmost part of it is marked by your Valmiki Tiger Reserve in Bihar. Valmiki was also in news because they're planning to introduce rhinos into this area. The one-horned rhino is planning to get reintroduced into this area. Valmiki also is the only protected area where gaurs are found in the Shivalik and Ganga plains. So that gaurs is another important species that we'll be discussing in our species list. This is what makes Valmiki important. Further on in Andhra Pradesh, we have just one tiger reserve. But then, as they say, you don't need more over here. Why? Because you have the Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam Tiger Reserve. This is the largest tiger reserve in our country. It hosts an area of almost 5,937 square kilometers. You have in some areas, again, the fact remains different. Why? Because some areas, they just note what is the core area. Some areas they include the core and the buffer area. So the core and the buffer area together is 5,937 square kilometers. Your Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam is primarily located in the Nallamala forest. The reason why it becomes important is because very recently they've started a very good measure called as your smart patrolling using M-Stripes. M-Stripes is an app that is primarily used for tiger conservation. And it's also a previous UPSC question, I believe in 2016. Now in this Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam, because the area is so large, they have started smart patrolling using this app to see, what are the number of tigers, what are the number of areas that are, maybe any kind of poaching activities, etc. are regulated. Okay. And then we move on to Jharkhand. Jharkhand has one tiger reserve called as the Palamau Tiger Reserve. And in Palamau, it's a very sad fact because Palamau was actually one of the oldest tiger reserves declared in India. Okay, when the Project Tiger started, you had Palamau being one of the first few tiger reserves that were there. They had good amount of tigers, but over the time, Palamau has become an area which has heavy Naxal insurgency. And because of this Naxal insurgency, a lot of species over here have gotten killed and have moved away from these areas. And right now, Palamau has I believe there are 7 or 8 just number of tigers, and even lesser, I believe, in Palamau Tiger Reserve. Palamau was also in news because now they are planning to have a spotted deer relocation so that you can have prey. The tiger, it feeds on the spotted deer. So in the hopes of improving the tiger population, they are now planning to introduce the spotted deer into this area. And then you have finally the last state that we have to discuss, which is your Mizoram. And in Mizoram, you have the Dampa Tiger Reserve. Dampa actually translates into lonely man. Okay. And just like the word denotes, in the very recent not the very recent one, the previous one, 2018 census, no tiger was found in this reserve. Now again, this is also a tiger reserve which previously did have good amount of tigers. Now there was no tiger spotted in 2018. Very recently, they did spot a tiger after almost 7 years. So now, yeah, you have one tiger there. So it so resonates with the translation of Dampa. Dampa is actually called as lonely man. You have one tiger there left coming from some place. Dampa otherwise is quite important in the number of clouded leopards. Dampa has a good amount of clouded leopard species over there. So now again, what I told you earlier, you do have clouded leopards in very high numbers, but the tiger population is quite low because you cannot have so many multiple predators, large numbers of them in the same area. So with that, we come to an end of the 4-part series of discussing all the tiger reserves. I just want you guys to do only one thing at this point. Take a map. If you want, just mark the important ones, the ones that we discussed in detail, at least those, mark on a map, keep revising. The others, just be familiar, just know, okay, when I'm saying Nagarjuna Sagar or Palamau, just have a fair idea which side it is in. The other ones, which we discussed in detail, I hope you will pay attention to it and study it and revise it in proper detail. I hope you've been benefited by these sessions. If yes, please let us know in the comments so that we'll be motivated to put out more such high value content. This is taken from different sources, collated over the period of time, just so that you don't have to go and search everywhere else. Watch these 4 videos and you are done with your tiger reserves. Okay. I hope you've been benefited. Until we meet next time, take care and happy learning.